Hello folks, Chad Stanton here, a professional woodworker of over 25 years, sharing my experiences with you. Now today's video is one actually I filmed a year or two ago. The reason I'm just now getting around to it, well, there was like over 3 hours worth of footage in it, and I didn't feel like spending the time to edit it. Even after editing it and keeping all the vital footage in it, it was still like an hour and a half long. I'm pretty certain no one wants to watch an hour and a half about making chairs. So to keep it kind of in pace with the timing of my usual videos, I really butchered it to get it down to like that 15-18 minute mark. However, if you do think it is something that you would really like to watch and learn all the fine little points and details, well, let me know in the comments below and I will upload that hour and a half version video of it for you. All right, so without further ado, let's get to making a chair. If you really want to improve your woodworking skills, I highly encourage you to build a chair. The reason I believe building a chair will greatly improve your woodworking skills, it's because there are very few straight lines on a chair. This is what I had to start with. My customer somehow came across 6 of these backs and asked me to make the front. So at this point, I told the customer, look, it's going to cost too much for me to construct the front half of this. You're better off just going to buy a new set of chairs. But I'm a terrible businessman. I probably shouldn't try and talk customers out of that. But he insisted, for some reason, he knows it's going to cost more, but for some reason he wants me to design and build the front half of this. All right, so here's my version of the chair. This is just a prototype. Nothing is glued or the final assembly here. I just wanted to get it together, show him what I think the chair would look like, and just get his approval. So a couple of issues that I'm running in with is you'll notice that the rear legs on it here, they don't face straight on. They don't face looking forward. You can see that they turn in a little bit, which means I can't connect right into that back leg. I'm actually cutting in on a funky angle right on that corner. And by notching into this leg, it's giving me a lot of strength for when someone sits on this. They got a lot of downward pressure, compression on it, so that'll be good. Now the front is a mortise and tenon together, and the front stretcher, well, that mortise and tenon go in straight. But on the side stretcher, you can see that this angles out, this flares out. I got about almost 20 inches in the front, and it comes back to 16. So at that angle, that mortise is notched into the leg at an angle, as well as the shoulder on where the tenon will be. That's also cut at an angle. All right, so let me now break down and show you all the steps and the different angles involved in doing this. Before I actually start putting the mortise hole in it, it's real important that I get my layout lines on this. All right, so there we are. I have the lines to designate where the mortise will be. I have the marks for what will be the visible side. I have the marks on the top that indicate the straight and 6-degree angled mortise. And on this one, this is my test piece, but I also have the legs numbered so we keep the pairs together. You'll notice this edge is not square, that it's on an angle. Maybe you can see that. There's a gap here at the bottom. So this is at 6 degrees. I also made this fence, which you'll notice is at 6 degrees. So this can kind of slide back and forth. So I have one of the legs here, and what I'm shooting for is a tapering effect down to 1.25 inches. So I'm getting ready to make the tenons on the front rail. The saw is set up to only plunge down a certain depth. It doesn't go all the way down. Very nice. Good fit. I'm getting ready to make the tenon on the side stretchers of the chair. All right, I have one of the pieces here with the marks laid out on it. So you'll notice I have my tenon on it. And then for the top has that angle of 6 degrees. Going down the side, I have another bevel set at 4 degrees. You'll notice that the blade I have angled, and that is set at my 6 degrees. All right, then the miter gauge, I have this angled to that 4 degrees. Okay, so there it is. It did just the one side of the tenon. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the saw the way it is, but I'm going to change the angle of my miter gauge. So I'm going from 4 degrees this direction to 4 degrees the other direction. All my right side outer tenon is done. And so now I'm going to move the miter gauge to the other slot here. Now I got to see which setup I got. So with the miter the way it is. All right, so this is not parallel with the saw blade. So it must mean I have the left side inner is what this looks like it'll cut. So the only piece that's left would be the right side inner portion, the cutout for that tenon. So let me rotate this the opposite direction. And I have the stretcher for what will be the right side here. And what I'm going to do is nothing complex here. I'm just going to transfer, just by eye, these lines over. And just like we did with the tenon on the front stretcher, I went ahead and mitered that corner. And now let's test the fit. With the side stretchers done and fit into the front leg, the next crucial thing is getting the stretcher cut and going into the back leg. So as you can see a close-up of this back leg, as we mentioned before, it's not going the same direction as our stretcher. So this means I'm going to have to make one cut coming in from the side here, 90 degrees perpendicular to this. And I also have to make another cut coming in parallel with the stretcher. All right, so here's the strategy I hope to do with the jigs and the tool. So to make this cut coming in here, I made this jig that will clamp to this side of the leg. All right, clamp in there. And then using my, this is the Milwaukee, the oscillating or tool, or what they call it, an oscillating saw, I plan on making a plunge cut coming in that direction. All right, it's going to take some steady hands to do that. The second jig will clamp up around the leg and then allow me to make my plunge cut coming in this direction. I know that's hard to see. Maybe it's better if I went like that. So the blade will be resting on this, has a guide going down in it. And I made a couple of marks on the blade for the different depth stops for me on this. So we'll see how that works out. So this is the second angle jig that I have on here. And this cut doesn't have to go as deep. Again, a little tear out on top here from when I was making that plunge cut, but overall, not a bad cut, and cleaned up pretty good. We'll do a test fit. All right, let's do a little test fit here. Hey, nice, pretty good fit. All right, I'll do the other side, and then we'll do a dry fit. So here's the two templates that I made based after that shape on the back rail. Okay, I'll trace these on there, cut them out on the bandsaw, and then use my oscillating sander to smooth them up. All right, even though we have the mortise and tenon, I still want to put a support block here to reinforce this corner. And then that will get mounted right there. All right, so you can see we have the front corner blocks. These will get glued and screwed in. But the back, well, the back's a little different. So what I'm going to do is, to get this curve, I'm going to put it so it's looking flat here. It's resting up high on the back, all right? And then I'm just simply going to take my pencil underneath here, follow the curve of this back rail, and then I can cut that off at the bandsaw, sand it, and do the same procedure that I did for the front. And here it is, the back brace is on there. Once this glue dries, she's going to be all nice and tight. But this is what I'm making up for the seat. It was actually some 2x8s that I planed down to 1 inch, glued them up together, and now I took some plywood and I made what will be the template for the seat pattern. I'll trace this on here, cut it out, and then I'll show you how I'm going to shape the profile of the seat. So here's the chair all glued up and stained. I stained the side rails and the legs. And I had a custom stain match done to go with the back. And I think that came out pretty good. And I drilled a couple of holes through these corner brackets, and I'll have screws that will come up through that. And that's how it's going to attach my seat. Well, I really enjoyed building this chair. It posed a lot of challenges for me, and I love to think and work through problems. And hopefully, by showing that to you, you've learned some more knowledge too for your woodworking skills. Now, if you've got something going in your shop and you want to show it off, well, join us on Facebook. We have a group page called What Are You Doing? Just answer a few simple preliminary questions and you're in. It's a great place to get inspiration, show off what you're doing, or ask questions and get advice. And speaking of questions, if you're working on a project in your shop and you would like some answers, well, feel free to email me at woodshopandtime@gmail.com. Because after all, my whole goal is to make you a better woodworker. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, keep on dancing.